Hey girl, welcome to today's episode. I wanted to tell you super quick before we jump in that I am inviting you to come join us in our group coaching community. If you love today's episode with Nikki, you are going to love the workshop that we have coming up on November the 19th. We are doing a how to get clients using Instagram workshop that Nikki is coming to do inside of our group coaching community. So in the show notes, I will have the link to come join us in the group coaching community where we meet weekly to do group coaching sessions. We have the replay vault where if you cannot meet us every Tuesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, then you have access to the replays every Friday from that previous Tuesday. At this point, we have like 100 replays in the replay vault, along with all of the previous workshops we've done. Every single month, I have a guest speaker come in that teaches us something specific about growing our organizing business. And then the women inside of the group coaching community have an app where they help each other throughout the week. I'm in the process of creating posts that you can use to update your Google profile. There's so many things going on inside of the group coaching community. I'm in the process of trying to make it better every single day, every single month. I listen to my members. I'm always there for you if you are a member of the group coaching community because I want your organizing business to grow. And I don't ever want you feeling stuck just because you're not sure what the answer to something is. That's why we have this group coaching community. And if I don't know the answer, more than likely one of the other women in the group has gone through the same thing and will have an idea or an answer for you. And so if you're at a point in your business where you're like, I sometimes feel stuck or I have questions or you just want a sisterhood of passionate professional organizers to come around you and help support you as well, and you're ready to learn, you want to keep that fire ignited to where you don't get burnt out, then the group coaching community is exactly what you need. The back to school special that is in the link, I know we're at the beginning of November. I've left it running for a little bit because it's 2 weeks free of the group coaching community, and then it's only $33 a month after that. So if you've been thinking about joining, now is the time. And if you're just now starting your business and you need a course, if you purchase the How to Start Your Professional Organizing Business course that I have, then you actually get a link inside of there to come join the group coaching community for 3 months for free. And then it's only $24 a month after that if you use the link that is inside of the course. And I did that because I want you to have a place to post your homework from the course. I want you to have a place where you can ask questions. And then that way I can help you create your business in a way that is purposeful, it is streamlined, and it gets you working with clients. All right, I truly know you're going to love this episode. I had such a great time recording it. Nikki is fantastic, and I cannot wait to see you at the workshop inside of our group coaching community on November the 19th. I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach podcast to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I am on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. Welcome back to the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Today, I'm so excited. I have Nikki Nash with me. She is the podcast host of Market Your Genius. She also has a book with the same title. And I'm so excited to talk marketing because I know for a lot of us, that's where we get stuck, right? Like we're great at organizing. We love working with clients. And then, we get stuck on the business stuff, but then we also get stuck on the marketing stuff. And so thank you, Nikki, for coming on the show.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. This is so much fun.
I'm so excited. Okay. So you are a veteran marketer. You have experience in helping businesses acquire and retain clients. You've been prior to entrepreneurship, you spent a decade helping Fortune 100 companies and tech startups build brands and attract their dream clients and customers. We've talked about the book and the podcast, and then you also are now living in Florida, living your best life, which we all dream about. So congrats on that.
Thank you. I'm actually considering becoming a snowbird because it is terrible in South Florida over the summer. It is so hot. People are like, "You want to go somewhere?" And I'm like, "No,
Yeah.
I don't, unless I'm going from an air conditioned building into an air conditioned car into another air conditioned building, or we're hanging out at like 6 in the morning or like 10 at night
It
outside. I don't really want to see you."
right. It's too hot. Yeah. No, I feel you. Even here in Tennessee, it's gotten to that point where it's like it right now the real feel is over 100. Like it's ridiculous. It's like I can't live in that. Like I'm good. I'll
Yeah.
just stay inside. Okay, love it. So today we're going to talk about specifically how to create clients for life, which you call this marketing mastery. And I love that you do because I've seen it in my own business, right? Like where now that I'm, about 4 years in or so, a lot of my clients are lifers. Like it's a lot of repetitive clients. It's a lot of clients that it was word of mouth because someone else had a really good, time working with me and I helped them. And I know in the beginning, it's hard to understand that. And we always are thinking like the next client, the next client, the next client. But I think we forget about the fact that like we really are trying to create clients for life. And so I'm so excited to get into this topic. So yeah, if you want to just start with kind of like your overall, like your thoughts on how to create a client for life, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things you said is so spot on, and it's about the perspective, right? So often, and I did this when I built my business. Year one, I was bringing in clients, and then I was constantly looking for the next client. And I will never forget the day one of my clients who still works with me, like still buys stuff from me today, was like, "Hey, I know we're coming to the end of this package. What would it look like to continue to work with you?" And I literally was like, "You know what? That's a great question. I don't want to use our time on this call to discuss it. So why don't we schedule another call where we can just talk about what that would look like?" She was like, "Okay, great." And I pulled that out of my behind because I had not to that point considered working with anybody beyond the initial engagement. And I'm like, "Oh, duh. I work with clients. I mean, I've purchased from companies over and over again. Why wouldn't I think about keeping clients?" And when you really think about it from like a math perspective, the time, energy, and or money that you put into acquiring a client, if you have them continue to work with you, you don't have to keep spending that time, energy, and money to bring in money for your business.
Yes, so true. But I think we're all like, because back in the day, so to speak, like the old brick and mortars, or even probably people that still have brick and mortars, they understood like, client, like the customer's always right, so to speak. And like they had all of these things. But now we're in this space where we're supposed to know how to market online. Like we're all so focused on the online stuff that I think a lot of the the things that worked for businesses and have always worked for businesses, i.e., taking care of your customers, word of mouth, those types of things. I think those just kind of like, I don't know if we think they're outdated or we just don't think about them.
Yeah, I think people are just distracted with so many different things you can do to market that some of the basics and fundamentals have been forgotten. Not forever, but definitely in like a temporary state of, oh, yeah, like, hey, I want to keep my clients. I should probably think about what that looks like. And when you're doing it online, the big piece is education, right? Like you have to change the way your clients think about working with you. And if you precede the idea of working with you over a long period of time, it's easier to retain your clients like pending that you actually deliver a freaking amazing experience.
Mhm.
And so if you say, "Hey, come work with me. I'm going to help you get more dream clients," and then you're going to go off on your merry way, then people are going to be like, "Okay, I'm going to hire Nikki. I'm going to help. She's going to help me get more dream clients. And then I'm going to go be living my best life, having all of these clients." Right. And that is, uh, possible. But the reality is even when my clients get to a state of, "Wow, I've got something that works and it's consistently bringing in clients." Now it's like, "Okay, we've got one pathway that works. Now we need to come up with some more," because at the end of the day, things change in today's day and age so quickly that if you don't have built one at a time, multiple ways to bring in and convert clients, and oftentimes options at slightly different price points, depending on what state your industry's in or the economy's in. You might need to heavy up on stuff that's more like quick wins or lower ticket, or you need to heavy up on those long-term higher engagements, or you may need to lean heavily on people just coming back and knowing that they're going to pay this same price every year or every quarter or every 2 years or however frequently it is. And so it's really knowing that you want to not only think this through for yourself, but you want to have that conversation before someone even works with you. Paint the picture of what it could be like to work with you. Say things like, okay, well, typically how I work with a client is we'll kind of get really clear on what their goals are. And then step one is decluttering and going through all their stuff and figuring out what they actually need. And then phase two is finding a home for everything. And the reality is that you're constantly going to come up with you're going to buy new things, and new things are either need to go out the door or find a home. And so what I recommend, and I'm making this part up, is that every quarter or twice a year, we do kind of a refresh, or every year, we do a spring cleaning. And so that's typically how I work with my clients. Now, if you paint that seed with me from the beginning, then I know, great, you're going to make me feel good today, but I'm going to need to do this with you multiple times. And that's normal. Right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And as you were saying that, I think a couple things are coming up for me. One is the client expectation piece. We all assume that our clients know what it looks like to work with us, or our clients know what it looks like to work with a professional organizer specifically. And the thing is every organizer is different. And so they don't know what it looks like. Heck, we didn't even know what it looked like before we started our business half the time, And so when we plant that seed, like you said, and we set up those client expectations from the jump, even on our website, even, that way, every interaction they have with us, it's kind of building on that, is huge. And then the other thing you said, which it just hit me, that during my consultations and phone calls, I say that to people, because the reason I set my business up in sessions instead of packages is because, to me, a package ends, right? Like, okay, I'm going to come do this job. We're going to get X, Y, and Z done, but then it's done. To me, I tell my clients, I'm like, listen, we are going to take it one step at a time. And we're going to go through what we need to go through and get, let's say your kitchen or whatever your goals are right now done. But I have it set up as sessions. So when you are ready for those other areas that need help, or again, like you said, when the Amazon stuff comes in and you have no idea where it's supposed to go, or life gets overwhelming and it just gets chaotic again, because it always does, then you can call me and I can come back and we can do a quick 1 or 2 sessions. And I tell them I constantly have clients coming back to work with me. And so I never realized that's what I was doing, was planting that seed of hey, we're going to continue to work together, until you just said that. But that's why it's working.
Yeah. And one of the pieces that people often don't do is, absolutely, when you're having your consult, but why not seed that in the content that they're seeing before you get there? And even do a video on hey, here's why my clients keep coming back for more. Here's why I become people's organizer for life, or something like that. And then people are like, I never thought of it. I thought you just came into my house and did this one magical makeover and then life was good. And so it's having them think differently before they even get to the consult. And then it's reaffirmed in the consult. And then when they're making those decisions, they're not feeling like this isn't normal, or that, guilty because they couldn't get it figured out with just the first session or package, or however people set it up, right? Because you've educated them on how things are going to look.
Yeah, which is huge. A lot of our clients do have that guilt, and they do have that that preconceived notion, like you just said, that oh, it's like TV magic. They're going to come in, and in one session, it's just going to boom, get done. And so if we don't set up those expectations beforehand, then we actually end up with clients that are like, wait, why didn't it happen this way? Because they don't understand the difference of what they've seen on, an Instagram reel versus in their actual home. And so I love that you're mentioning that the more we could even put it into our content, the better off we would be with our clients and the better that they would be for it, because then they know what to expect. And then they're obviously going to be a client for life, because there hasn't been this moment of like, well, wait, I was expecting this and you didn't meet my expectations.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, because I think that's where we lose a lot of clients. I think that's where we lose the for life piece is not setting it up, but then also not talking to them, and especially in the beginning, right? Like when you're first starting a business, it's so hard to want to have those conversations of like, so do you have any questions, or is there anything coming up for you? And then talking that through with them. But as you grow your business, you start to see the power behind asking your clients those questions and spending that extra time in the beginning. So it does flow easier later on.
100%. And the more that you can remember that your clients are people, right? They're human beings, and you're just building a relationship with them. That's ultimately what marketing is a strategic way of building relationships with prospective clients before they actually become your client. And then even while they're your client, you're still marketing to them, right? And so if you're thinking, okay, somebody came, they worked with me, life was great, goodbye, but you never talk to that person again, then you're missing opportunities to continue to support them. And so I will use this example. I read it in a book. I can't remember the book, but I remember the story. And it was about the guy who I think it was either did the most sales as a car salesman or something like that. And literally what he did is every time he had somebody buy a car from him, he would send them cards regularly, like happy birthday, happy anniversary of buying your card, happy buying your car, happy holiday. Hey, I was just thinking of you. Like he literally hand wrote cards to all of his clients and customers. And then he at some point had to get help and got an assistant to help him do this because it was so many people and so many cards because he was sending out cards every single month. But what happened was when people when somebody was like, oh, I need to buy a new car, it not only helped with referrals, that word of mouth piece we talked about at the beginning, because those people that are getting cards, who gets cards from the person that sold them a car? I don't even remember who sold me cars in my lifetime, right? But but I do remember somebody who sold my mom cars because he was like that good and stayed connected with her. But it's like they were referring people, but more importantly, when they needed to buy the next car, they were like, I need to go to this guy. I don't care where I live. I don't care what's going on. I need to go to this guy and buy my car because he really cares and he takes good care of me. And so there's a follow-up piece and a relationship piece to retaining your clients. Because if it's not especially if you're not in something where they need you all the time, which I think is every type of business, right? I've had clients that still buy from me, but there have been gaps. But you know what had them come back is that I stayed connected. I would ask them how they're doing. I would say, is there any way I can help you? Even like, you don't need to buy anything, but like, do you need a connection? What's going on? Let me see how I can support you and help you. And when they were like, you know what, I really need help in this area, they're like, you know who I'm going to call? I'm going to call Nikki because she stays in contact with me. And when I worked with her in the past, it was amazing and I got great results.
Yeah.
Right. So you want to create that for your clientele.
Yeah. And actually, I had my State Farm guy send me, which I think it was a Christmas card. So like, it was a little like, oh, okay, it's Christmas. Christmas is the one time of year that you kind of expect a card, but it still hit me. I was like, oh my gosh, a handwritten note from my State Farm guy. Like
Yeah.
it hit a little different, even though I was expecting cards for Christmas. And so I can see where, plus what we do as organizers, like it is such a personal experience. And so anything else that we can, like for me, email marketing, it feels so disconnected. And I think that's why I've had so much trouble getting it ready. Now, for other people, it works fantastic. I am not knocking email marketing at all because we need to stay front of mind. But for me personally, to me, it feels almost not like I'm bugging them, but like it's not as personable, I guess, as like a quick text message. So for me, it's always been in my phone. I have all of my clients and I put the word consultation or organizing next to them. So then I'm able to search in my phone for those names and I'm able to send a quick voucher I've made on Canva or a quick text of like, hey, I was just thinking about you, wanted to check in. So for me, that is more like my speed because I'm more of like a one-on-one. But I could see where, especially if you're like running a team or you have like a ton of clients all the time or whatever, I could see where that could get, obviously email marketing would be a lot better. But even a newsletter once a month and like just making sure that they are remembering you're there, but that you're also then giving them that information or helping to, like you said, just checking in like, hey, you don't have to buy anything. Like maybe the newsletter doesn't even have a book a consult on it. Maybe it's literally more of like, hey, I know back to school starting. I just wanted to make sure you were ready with your kids. It's more about giving them the information in the process of following up with them.
Yeah. I mean, I want to challenge the belief because you said something really interesting around email marketing.
Yes,
And it
please.
almost felt like a either or, like either I could be personal and send them text messages or I could send them a newsletter. And I'm like, what? No, both and no matter
Yes.
what. And two, and it's a perspective of how you see email marketing. And I'm picking on you a little bit just because you said it, but like this is a common belief that people have. And there are many ways to do email marketing. And one of the ways that I like to look at it as it's another channel for me to add incredible value to people. So for example, I keep my system really simple. And so I choose a theme of the week. And that theme is pretty much in every piece of content. Now, the theme could be high level, like the theme could be email marketing. And I may discuss a million different things tied to email marketing, such that somebody might not realize that it's the theme of the week, right? But
Right.
I do it for myself where I'm like, I come up with, what are the top 5 myths somebody has about email marketing or how email marketing can actually grow your business and build deeper connections with your clients, right? And I may write a whole piece on it and then share some tips. And that'll have one person go, oh, I'm thinking of email marketing a little bit differently. I'll give it a try. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I take that piece of content and I will turn it into reels. Like if I had 5 tips or something, each one of those tips could be 1 to 2 reels, depending on it. It could be stories. It could be a carousel. I keep my content planning really simple, but it's always coming from the perspective of how can I add incredible value to someone? And what's one thing I can, like, is there anything that I could invite them to do? Like maybe on my email, I invite them to follow me on Instagram for more magic, right? Or maybe I'm just like, hey, I hope this was helpful. Please share this with another friend that you might find interesting. It could be, hey, here's something like, here's my take on the Kondo Marie method, right? Or something like that. Like it does not need to be serious. I try to think of it as how could I be of service or spark a conversation with my ideal client based off of things that they have, right? Like, oh my gosh, I just saw the HGTV, this makeover show. It could just be things that you've noticed that you want to tell somebody about. I just watched the show and oh my gosh, they made the house look like this. And we live in a world now where people think that can happen overnight. But here's what really goes into organizing a home like this. Bam. Hope this helps.
Yeah.
Well,
and I think too, my other mindset block that I know I need to get over is, for me, I think of newsletters as totally different than email marketing.
Yeah, no, they're all part of the same thing. Right. Literally the same thing. I mean, not literally, but they're all part of the same thing.
Yeah. I think to me, newsletters, it's more of like, oh, that would be like once a month, where email marketing almost feels like it has to be like every day or every other day.
I love this conversation because I'm like, how did you get there in that mindset belief? I keep it simple. I send one email every Sunday morning to my list with a valuable piece of content and usually some sort of call to action. If it's like, hey, I did this training, go check it out. Or, hey, I'm going live on Instagram. Or, hey, if you want to see if working together is a good fit, here, book this consult. And then when I'm promoting something in particular, I may do more than one a week. But outside of that, I batch create them too, right? Like I told you I had a theme of the week. I'll do a theme of the month. Like this is the theme of the month. And then I just have to break it down into 4 emails, like 4 tips.
Love it. Yeah, no. Well, and honestly, like, so I guess it is a lot simpler, right? It's this, because I haven't done email marketing. And I tell people this, like, I am not, like, if you're looking for email marketing, I am not your person to come to, just because I've not done it yet, right? Like, I'm still trying to run an organizing business and do the podcast. Like, for me, the podcast is my long form content at this point. And I know at some point I'm going to have to get there.
Oh my gosh. Keep going, but I already have like how this could look for you. Keep going.
Okay. But so for me, it was always like every day there just doesn't seem to be enough hours in the day. And so I love what you're saying about keeping it simple. But for me, I had to get my other systems so like in line with each other
Yeah.
that it just seemed like such a huge mountain to climb that I've never actually done it.
Yeah. Ready for this?
Yes.
Take the podcast episode that's releasing in a week, transcribe it in something like Otter AI or something, upload that transcript to Chat GPT and say, hey, pull out some key lessons from this podcast episode and turn it into an email. That'll go, here's my target audience. Write me an email. Here's my voice. Here's a sample of a previous email or something. Write it. They do a draft. You tweak it a little bit. You pre-schedule it. Bam. Right. And then the call to action is go, like I discussed this more on this episode. Go listen to the podcast.
Right. And see, that's where like, and I love that we're talking about this because you're the marketing genius. Hello, not me. But for me, and I know for a lot of us, the idea of any of those little things, like they're like we all get stuck in these random little places that seem so much harder than they have to be once you actually do them.
It's the equivalent of me cleaning my kitchen or unloading the dishwasher. This is a great example. I dread loading and unloading the dishwasher. In my mind, it's going to take me forever. To do it, I wait until I'm like, all right, I really got to unload or load the dishwasher. And then I turn on Pandora. I'm like, Alexa, because if I say her name, she'll start doing it, right? Like turn on Pandora. And then I go to town. It takes me less than one song to load and unload the dishwasher. But it takes me so much energy and dread to think about loading and unloading the dishwasher. And if I just unloaded and loaded the dishwasher when I thought of it, instead of thinking about it forever, it would be much easier, right? And so all I'm saying is if you guys are already doing some sort of marketing, whether it's, hey, you've decided to get on Instagram and you're doing a reel. I freaking learned so much about, making my home look magical from Instagram reels or TikToks, right? Imagine if somebody, because I have to watch the damn thing like 10 times to get the tip, right? If somebody just wrote it out for me and put it in an email, I'd be like, thank goodness, because it's like, I make my own cleaning products. And I'm like, how much, vinegar that I need? Or how much, if somebody just wrote it down and then sent it to me in an email, I'd be like, thank you so much. This is the best email ever. Right. So all I'm saying, folks, is I'm not here to convince you to do email marketing. I actually don't care if people do it or not. I'm just saying that if you're already doing some form of content creation, whether it's a podcast or a blog or reels or any sort of anything, think of it as how can I support my clients the best by having them have multiple opportunities to see this and deliver it in the form that they like, because there are so many different adult learners. I'm highly auditory. I freaking love podcasts. One of my close friends is highly visual and needs to see things either like in video or written, like are her two top ones. If she just listens to it, she can't focus. She doesn't remember it. I listen to it. I remember everything the person said, right? I'm like, I don't understand why you don't remember it. They literally just said it. And she's like, unless it's written on a piece of paper, right? She needs an email, or unless it's like in a video, I'm not with text on it. I'm not going to remember. So that's just kind of, my 2 cents. Well, we can get off of.
Yeah. Well, and totally repurposing it, but it's part of creating clients for life, right? Like it's exactly what you're saying, where everyone learns differently. And so the more ways that we can reach our clients, and again, just kind of reminding them like, hey, like, the letter or the card that the car guy sent, or like, there's so many ways to think outside of the box on this that work for your people. Just making sure the point is to make sure to get back in touch with them, and to make sure to, from the beginning through working with them, to keep reminding them like, hey, this is totally normal. Like because I don't know how often I say that with clients, because I've literally had clients meet me on their front porch and almost be like holding the door, refusing to let me through the front door, because the idea of me walking in, because they don't have guests, they don't have people come over because they're so worried. And I remember being that person feeling that way. And so for me, I almost assume every client's going to be that way. And I almost go above and overboard of like making them realize like, this is totally normal. This is exactly what it's supposed to look like. Everything's fine. Like, this is great. I see a puzzle. I don't see clutter. I see a puzzle.
Yeah.
This is exciting for me. And when I do that, people are like, oh, okay. Okay. But I think I know that I take marketing and it becomes not that because of my mindsets. And I'm a coach. I should know better. Hello.
No, but it's so common. Like the number of people, when I say I love marketing, people literally look at me like I'm crazy. And it's like, it's the equivalent of you seeing people's homes as a puzzle. I see marketing as just building a relationship. So I'm like, I'm basically a relationship coach. Like, basically, I'm just helping you build relationships with prospective clients, right? And I'm coming up with fun, easy ways for you to do it. And so I wasn't actually challenging, just for folks listening, I wasn't challenging email marketing for you. I was challenging your thoughts about it, right?
Yes.
And because it's like so often people have all these thoughts about marketing and thoughts about, retaining clients, and it in their minds, it's a big chore, it's overwhelming, it's a lot, they're not good at it. And I'm like, a monkey can do it. Like a monkey is like a perfect person to market a banana, right? Like it's literally just going, hey, you're interested in this thing. Let me show you how it's going to make your life magical and why you want one. Right.
Yeah.
And it's about getting to know someone and understanding what their common fears and doubts and insecurities are, and then just helping them through it, coaching them through it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like most of my marketing is I'm sitting down and I'm literally going, all right, picture the day in the life of my person. Right. You just inspired one. I'm going to be like, so you have this belief that email marketing is X, Y, and Z. Like you're sitting around and you go to write an email and you go, oh my gosh, I hate this because I don't want to bother someone every day. And I can't create newsletters are so different and I don't really want to do either. Right. And then, so you end up not doing anything.
Right.
And let's just talk about, the reality of what's going on in your head. And then let's talk about the benefits of doing this and how easy it can be. And by the way, I have templates or worksheets or, a system that already works that you can just plug into and do this really quickly. Right. Like, so that's, how I like to approach marketing, is thinking about what is the lifetime of working with me look like, mm-hmm. and how am I constantly supporting my clients and prospective clients through the process of, getting help and getting support, whether they're already a client. And to your point, like you came in, I'm sure this happens. You did some magic and then they got a bunch of stuff and the house feels back to where they started and they're feeling guilty, right? It's mm-hmm. how people do one thing is how they do everything, right?
Yep.
It's the equivalent of yo-yo dieting. It's like, I lost all this weight and then I gained half of it back. And now I feel guilty and I'm beating myself up over it. And I don't even want to tell you about it. Same thing happens with people in their homes. Same thing happens with people in their money. Same thing happens with people in their business. And it's just understanding that that's human nature and giving people permission to forgive themselves, let go of the shame,
yeah,
guilt and shame. I said game and shilt, like I combined of words, the shame and the guilt, and just say, you know what, I'm gonna get help and I'm gonna work through this again, and I'm gonna keep working on it until it's no longer an issue for me, right?
Yeah. Well, and I tell my clients all the time, like the clients that are starting organizing businesses or are professional organizers, mm-hmm. I talk to them about when they go to do consultations or when they are working with their clients, the times that they have these like light bulb moments, like, because our clients will tell us, because like you're saying, your marketing, you're like, ooh, in the life of, well, for us, we're right there talking it out with our clients. And so during a consultation, even if they've called you in for a pantry, they will show you the whole house. Like you're going to see everything during the consultation. But during that consultation, if you'll make notes about what they say their issues are, what the problems are, or the other areas in the house that are bothering them and why they're bothering them, A, that becomes content. And then B, that's also another reason to check back in with them later and be like, hey, did you ever get that craft room, organized and figured out? Or, So like even because I know for a lot of us in business, it's a lot harder than it sounds to like put ourselves in someone else's shoes. Like we make it so much harder than it has to
Yeah.
be. But even for us as organizers, the second you're in front of someone, like you literally, they will tell you all of these things.
100%. They will tell you. And if you really pay attention, you realize that most people have variations of the same problems, right? Like if you're going to start getting to a point where you're like, yep, I've heard this a million times before.
Mhm.
Good. That's a good thing. That means you can be a better marketer, right? Like marketing, yes, there are some skills to marketing and coming up with a strategy. And I've been doing it for, a long time, like almost 2 decades. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's crazy. But at the end of the day, it's if you are just good at listening to your clients and understanding people, you're like halfway there.
Yeah.
Because a marketer without truly understanding what it's like to be your prospective client is worth nothing, right? Like that's why one of the things that I will do for people that work with me one-on-one is I will interview their clients. I will get inside their client's head. I will understand why they hired you, what they were going through, what life is like now, what they're currently dealing with. And I need that information because it's going to help me market you better, right? Like
Yeah.
come up with your plan better. So like if you know your clients, you're halfway there. The rest is just showing up consistently. You could do that badly, but if you you just like your content doesn't need to be like studio production quality. If you just show up and talk to people about the problems they have and how you can help them solve it, you're a better marketer than a lot of other people out there.
Yeah. Well, and I'm so excited to go back and listen to your podcast because like all of these, like you're so, first off, you are so normal, like in the very best way possible, like you're breaking it down in a way that it's like, oh, well, of course, that's like, that makes sense. That's common sense. But like we overcomplicate it so bad. And I know this, I know I do it, but I still catch myself doing it. But that's okay because that's where growth can happen, right? Is when we notice those things or when someone else points them out to us and then we're like, wait, let me choose a better thought about that thing, and then let me just try that.
Yeah.
So I
It's
appreciate
like,
you pointing it out for me.
yeah, I encourage people just choose one thing. Like what's the one way that you're going to stay connected with your clients, right? Like are you going to mail them a card every month or whatever, right? Are you going to make sure you have notes in your phone and alerts that's like, hey, follow up with, so and so, right? Are you going to whatever it is, but have a way to stay connected to your clients, to keep building that relationship. And basically, don't be the friend that only calls someone when they want something. Like, this is why I'm like, marketing is so like every other element of building a relationship with people. Don't be the business owner that literally only contacts people when they're like, hey, I want you to buy something. Actually care about people and stay connected with them. They're inviting you literally into their homes, right? And like I do this in my line of work. I'm basically a therapist. Like you are part therapist, part like actually helping them with what they hired you for, right?
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
stay connected with them, check in on them, see how they're doing, deliver an amazing experience, but also just be a human being and people will keep coming back. And that's how you keep clients for life. And then if you want to be great at marketing, then just know what your clients are going through and speak about it publicly and then talk about how there's a solution and how you can help them. And if you do that alone consistently, you'll grow your business and then you have a system for staying connected with them. You'll retain clients and then next thing you know, you'll have a wait list.
Yeah. Well, and I love it because it's so simple, right? Like, but we hear, and this is the other thing. And actually, I'm going to ask you this real quick before we wind down because I know we got to the marketing tips. But so I have said a few times that I hate talking, like using the term ideal client. And the reason I I totally know we need to know our ideal clients and we need to talk to one person. I 1,000% believe that. I've done it in my own business. But where I got stuck was in the beginning when someone would be like, who's your ideal client? I would get so in my head about having to perfectly craft this ideal client that I would end up confusing myself worse. And I spent months and months and months not doing anything, all because I was trying to figure out who my ideal client was. Where it'll find you. Like your ideal
Yeah.
client will find you, or it's actually just you a few steps behind you. Like it's not super complicated. So as a marketing genius, what are your like thoughts on ideal clients?
Yeah. So I have a couple and I'll just share them quickly. The first is to your point is that when you're first starting a business, I actually don't love that people say like you got to find your ideal client before anybody's worked with anybody as if it's going to be set in stone. It's more of like I tell people like, "Hey, pretend you're looking at literally a target, right? Like, axe throwing is a thing now, archery, maybe you like guns and you're at the gun range, but there's some sort of target, right? And you're trying to hit it. And you just want to ask yourself right now, what, like, I'm looking at the target and what do I think the bullseye is, right? Like, who is my, and you may market to that person, work with that person, and then realize actually that person's on the target, but they're not the bullseye. And so you refine it. And then after you keep working with people, you'll start realizing who your bullseye client is. And the way that you will start realizing that is a lot of businesses may end up having a couple types of people that they work with. But if you want to really grow your business, what I encourage people to do is do kind of like two different types of analysis. The first is which of the different, if you had to group your clients into different types of people, which one do you have the most joy with? Like you're like, if I had this person all day, every day, it would be the greatest thing in the world, right? And then there's the actual financial element to it. And you're like, which of these profiles actually brings me the most money, right? And if you want to do a third analysis, it's like, which one's the easiest and fastest to say yes? And then like, if you have, a grading system and you find out that like, oh, okay, this person is my second favorite to work with, but they spend the most money and they're the easiest to say yes. Well, dang, make that your ideal client, right? Because you're going to still have fun and they're going to bring you the most money and you're going to have the less stress trying to have them say yes to working with you, right?
Yes.
And so it's kind of like over time you start figuring out, okay, for the business, this is who I should focus on marketing to. And if other people trickle in, okay, maybe.
Great. Yeah.
But like, here's who we're putting our bullseye on. Like, here's what our bullseye client is. And then you focus on that because that's for the sake of the business, the right thing to do.
Love it. And that was the reason I was asking, because as someone who's been doing this for, like you said, 2 decades, and I think, and that's where I was getting tripped up. It's not that I don't think you need an ideal client, because you absolutely do. It's the fact that you're expected to know the ideal client before you've even launched the business.
Yeah.
That's where I was getting like the most annoyed with a lot of the information that's out there. And that's where I got stuck. And so I try to, let people know you will figure it out. Like as you start working with people at first, it's totally okay to stay more broad or pick someone that you think might be your person, talk to them, start working with a few of them. You will find out very quickly if you enjoy working with them or if you don't, and so it's okay to have trial and error. We do not have to have all of the answers straight out of the gate.
No. In fact, what most people don't tell folks, and this is literally like an entire section of my book, is that marketing is a hypothesis. It's one giant science experiment. Like it's more of a science experiment than a hypothesis, but it's a science experiment. And you kind of come up with your hypothesis. You're like, this is who I think my person is, how I think I'm going to market to them and sell them. And here's what I think is going to work. And then you do the thing and you do it over and over and over again. And you make slight tweaks along the way until you get something that really works. You don't throw everything out the window and start over, but you make some tweaks and adjustments. And then you're like, bam, this consistently works. Now let me come up with another way that consistently works to diversify what I got going on in case, like I remember one of my clients during COVID, she was getting all of her clients through speaking engagements. And then COVID happened and all of those ended. And it was like, well, dang, you need a plan B. If you don't have a plan B, you're kind of screwed. And I feel like that's happening more and more ever since kind of like 2020, where you'll all of a sudden, seemingly overnight, you're in a different landscape, a different ecosystem. Like the world is operating differently. And you're like,
when did that happen?
Right. Like, what is happening?
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And okay, so remind everyone the name of your book and the name of your podcast and all the good stuff and where they can find you. And then for all of you listening, don't forget, come join the group coaching community because Miss Nikki is coming to talk to us about finding clients on Instagram, which I know is a huge piece of our business. It's a huge piece of what we do. And so I'm so excited about that workshop in November. So make sure you come join the membership before November. But Yes, Nikki, where can they find you and all the good stuff?
Yeah, I mean, the first place to go is Instagram. I'm at Nikki Nash Official. It's my jam. I'm constantly giving tips and advice. It'll also give you an idea of like an easy way to create some content because I batch stuff and do it really quickly and I talk about it there. So follow me there. Let me know that you listened to this episode. I love DMs and like, hey, like this is magic, right? So that's fun. And then the name of my book is Market Your Genius. And that's also the name of my podcast. And if you're looking up the book to see if you have the right one, it is bright pink. You can't miss it. It's literally like hot pink. Like I have one in case people see video. It's like very, very pink. So
love it.
That's the book. And the podcast has the same name.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. And just for you all listening, if you're like, ooh, where's the latest episode of the podcast? Right now, it's she's, in between seasons. She'll figure out what she's doing with that. But there's so much good content there, and there's so many episodes that like we wanted to make sure to mention it because, just because it was recorded a month or two ago does not mean it's not valuable. And when it comes to marketing, like, again, you are so kind of like I feel like I am with my ladies and like my coaching. It's very like, okay, let's get to the realness of this. Like I'm not going to put a bunch of fluff on it. I'm not going to probably make it that pretty. It'll be a little pretty, but it'll really like get down to the bones of like what is going to help you, because my goal is to help, my clients, my listeners, my everyone. And I can tell from talking with you, that's exactly your goal too. So I'm so grateful that we were able to connect and that you're coming into the membership in November. And thank you for coming on the podcast and for talking about, how we can keep our clients, because that's what matters.
100%. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to proorganizerscoach.com to find all the ways that we can help you succeed in your business. Remember, you have the power to make a difference in people's lives through decluttering and organization. So keep honing your skills, embracing those challenges, and fostering connections. Girl, you've got this.